For this tutorial, we're going to have a look at a sample code app called Zoom that shows two videos on the screen, one of them full screen and one picture-in-picture, and then lets you switch between them using the arrow buttons. If you'd like to follow along, you can check out our GitHub space, and the app is called Zoom. You can clone the code right here. And let's do a little live demo. Here's how the app looks. As you can see, there's one app playing full screen and the other one is in picture-in-picture mode. And if I hit the down arrow, it's going to swap between them. The first video gets smaller in the bottom left, and the other video that was in the top right gets bigger, and I can hit up to swap back and forth. And you'll also hear that the audio crossfades between the two different videos. And when I say different videos, we're actually looking at the same video, two different time codes. There you go. Let's have a quick look at the HTML for the app. It's very simple. We just have two video tags right here, and you can see that the sizes are specified like that for the initial sizes. And in the CSS, we go into a little bit more detail. Now, we're going to be using some CSS animations to animate between the two different views for each video. Basically, for every transition, we have some keyframes, just the start and end state, where it might start, for example, at full screen in the top left, and might end in a little picture-in-picture pegged to one corner. And we have some different transitions defined for each of the videos in each direction. Now, over here in the JavaScript file, we're actually going to use an object called a Zoom video that encapsulates a little bit of state, like the video and the player, and has a couple of methods for queuing up those animations. So we can tell either one to animate to the minimized position or animate to the maximized position. We've also got a little function for crossfading the volume using a stepper interval as well. That's basically how you would animate the style transitions if you weren't using CSS animations. But the advantage of doing that is that it's GPU optimized, so it is nice and slick. Isn't that beautiful? Now, when we initialize the app, we're going to be using the Video Manager class from the Banner app that handles all of the complicated bits of the transition between the local player and the remote player. Because it's only built to manage one local player, we're just going to swap them in and out depending upon which video is playing full screen. Now, we're going to do a further trick. We're going to use a local manifest that's limited to playing the video in 720p for the web version, but because the remote player needs an absolute URL, we're going to use the original URL for playing video in the remote player. Now it's the same video, so when we synchronize the time codes, it'll do what you expect it to do. Now, we're not going to use the Video Manager for the video that starts in the minimized state. We're just going to set it up manually. And we're going to set the volume to 0 for both videos, otherwise the browser won't auto-play them, but we turn the video on when we start doing the crossfades. Now the rest of the program is actually pretty simple. We can use the OK button on the remote to toggle back and forth between foreground and background modes. And when we hit up and down, we're just going to use these two functions to queue up the transitions and then swap in which player the Video Manager is handling. So that's about it for the JavaScript code. Let's go and see how it runs in the simulator. So you can see that the smaller video fades in, And just as you would expect, if I hit the arrow keys, it's going to work pretty much the same way. And then if I hit return, we're going to take whichever video is larger and switch to playing the adaptive bitrate stream. And you'll notice by looking at the time code that it more or less is continuous, pretty seamless. So I'm just going to switch back from the remote player to the local player. And then you can see that it just keeps playing, but now I've got the other video there. So that's about it. Just an example of a couple of tricks you can do in Senza that would be maybe a little bit more difficult on other video platforms, but because this is all web-based, it makes it super easy. Thanks again for watching.